tuning in. We got a really special guest today, Maureen Giancanelli, and I have not had time to change my name yet, so I'm not Minnie. You guys all know that I'm John. Maureen, if you don't know her, is an icon of real estate. I always like to joke that she was the millionaire listing real estate agent before that was even a thing in West LA. She sold all over LA and been a top agent for a very long time. So I thought, who better to talk to people about what it looks like to be a top producer and than somebody who's been a top producer probably for longer than anybody that I know. Maureen, before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background, and all of that good stuff. So if anybody doesn't know who you are, they know who you are.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm Maureen Giancanelli, and I've been in real estate since 1979. I figured it out this morning. I came to, in the West Side, I was Beverly Hills and all that area of 17 years. And then I moved to the South Bay. And so I've been practicing real estate for 29 years. And I've been with Keller Williams for 18 years, which has been great, 18 years. And how I got in real estate, just real quick, is I graduated high school. It's kind of to a fault at 16 years of age. And I worked at a company, George Elkins Company, if anybody knows the Beverly Hills area. And they entrusted me, and I became an administrative assistant there and oversaw 50 brokers that was in the luxury arena. And so I got me, my aspiration was to be an attorney and go to school. However, I started having a passion in what they were doing. And so that's how I got into real estate. So I've been doing this for a number of years. And there was a woman, a renowned realtor, that recruited me from George Elkins Company. And I worked, and now that company is Hilton and Highland, or Highland and Hilton. And she really trained me. It was incredible mentorship. I really am grateful to the way she trained me from the very beginning. So I
Yeah,
love real estate. I love it. It's my
yeah.
love, passion.
That brings up a good question, right? And I want to like dive into that for a second because a lot of agents on the call, we got a lot of really great ones that are super productive already. But we also have some newer agents,
Mhm.
and I kind of share that same philosophy that you do, Maureen, in the sense that you mentioned how this person became such a great mentor to you. How important do you think that it is for agents to have mentors? And regardless of whether you're new or you're even super seasoned, because, hey, there's always a next level, right? And if I don't know how to get there, how can I find somebody who's there so that they can guide me? How important do you think that is for agents to stay learning based?
Well, it's vital. I think one thing is to learn to be teachable and let go of the fact that you don't know and listen to someone else. So that's been a series for me to, have that humility. Um, it's been vital. I've had coaches my whole life here, in real estate, or mentors. Of course, Gary always talks about lead with revenue, but if you can't get a coach right away, having somebody that you're accountable to and learn from is just vital to your business. What I would love for someone to tell me, sometimes you don't see your part in it, and they can tell you how, which direction to go and what, your schedules, your mindset, and really to be able to get the best information so that you can be successful. So it's vital. I've always had coaches and
Yeah,
people.
and I think that you bring up a good point there. And one of the things I want to share with everybody is that, Maureen's been in the business since 1979, which is, quite a long time. And I'll tell you, I've met agents that have been in the business for 3 years and they act like they know everything and they don't need to learn anything and they don't need to come to classes anymore. If I schedule a class in our market center, Maureen is the first one to sign up and she's always there. And what that tells me is, that a lot of her success and longevity is due to the fact that she's been learning based. And so having a coach, having a mentor, I think is super, super vital because stuff's adapting and it's always changing and we have to be able to adapt to it. Which kind of brings me to my next question, Maureen. What are some of the big changes that you've seen in the real estate kind of landscape on how we approach doing business from the time that you started to now? And what have you done to really be able to adapt with those things? Because, sometimes we have boom years and stuff's great, sometimes not so great. I know that we're in a little bit of a shift right now, but top producers always seem to be successful. So how do you adapt?
Well, I try to embrace it. That's why, with coaches, they've helped me. I mean, one of the biggest challenges I had that had changed was technology, and that was really difficult for me. But I knew that I had to embrace it if I was going to continue being in the business. So, um, how it's changed, I mean, to be honest with you, real estate was a lot of fun. I mean, it's still fun, but it's a little bit more complicated now than it was when I first started. I mean, we had one pages, one page of a contract. And so, and people would just sign the contract and tell me or the agreement, Maureen, just figure out the price and whatever you think is right, and I'll go with it. It's very different now. And
Yeah,
I think that one of the biggest things that I noticed that we have to develop trust. Um, with the way things are now, that's what I think is the biggest concern with uh, our people that, building those relationships and building trust because they don't trust anything right now, So I think that's one of the biggest things. Now it's embracing AI, which is phenomenal, a little scary, but, embracing that. It's funny because yesterday it was really helpful because everything that Keller Williams has me do, I try to learn from it. So I just last night thought about the different trends and I went on AI and it created an actual bio for me, which I really love. And what happened in the late 70s, what happened in the 80s, and what happened in the 90s and 2000 with the tech and the pandemic. And then it talked about the 2024 to 2025, that market now is in a cautious phase, is what it says, and it's learning more. I think there's always availability in real estate. It doesn't matter what happens. Before it was foreclosures I had to do and short sales in 2008. And so now, you just have to lead gen and have a schedule that you keep and have a big why. You have to continue having a big why. My big why has changed from the time when I was younger, but um, I have a tremendous amount of desire. I think that's the issue, and learn what I need to do in this type of market. And
yeah.
I don't know if I answered the question, but
No, yeah, you did. I mean, the thing is, I think again, just that theme of constantly learning and being willing to adapt and embracing what stuff throws at you. It's kind of like one of those things. When the market's not good and life throws you lemons, you make lemonade, right? So, how do I take this particular situation and be able to make the best out of it? And I
right.
think that you've mentioned some things in there that I want to unpack a little bit because at the core of everything, it's really about relationships, right? And
Mhm.
so, hey, the technology doesn't necessarily help us sell more real estate itself. This new tool or the shiny object doesn't help us sell real estate more just in itself. It's having actual conversations with people to find out what their challenges are and what their problems are and help them solve those things. And all of those tools and technology and things like that are just meant to streamline our lives to make it faster to do stuff that doesn't really help us build relationships so that we can spend more time developing relationships. And so I want to kind of dig into that. What are kind of like the things that you really think are important in relationship building and building rapport with leads and with past clients in your sphere?
Well, of course, following up and keeping in touch with them. One of the things that I really focus on is when I do have a client, be interested in their life, kind of like the Ford method, asking them about their family, you know, all of their occupation, and really be make notes on what's happening in their life. And so when I do call, it's not always, do you have something to sell or buy? It's, what happened that time, that you mentioned that your son was doing, and just building that kind of relationship and being consistent, and organizing myself on the database. I think that's really important. I used to, I've grown a lot. I used to put things on pieces of paper. But
Yeah,
now,
no, back
at
in the,
least,
I haven't been in the business as long as you, but I've been in there 21 years. When I got started, it was like kind of pre-internet as well too. And I remember walking by real estate agents' offices, seeing these huge whiteboards with lists of names on it, and Rolodexes on everybody's desks.
I
So
know.
uh,
Yeah.
definitely has changed quite a bit to help us.
Oh, absolutely. But I kept up when I came here in the South Bay. I was a team mom for my son, for surfing, for football, and I kept track. I kept those lists for years here, being here at 29 years. So I still talk to the same people that, my son's now 34 and he was what, 7 then or 8. So I kept up with their life, and they kept up with mine. They know who I am, um, and I can't get everyone, but I want to, I do want to. I think coming from a place that I really want to make a difference. Um, I try not to have that commission breath, that type of thing. Just really, it's always been my calling when I was a young girl. I always wanted to make a difference, and helping people with their biggest financial decision, one of their assets. And it's very, it's, I'm really interested in that, in making a
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah, no, and I think that's one of the great things about this profession that we get to do that not everybody understands. Even my wife, which you know really well, Jennifer, she sometimes will give me a bad case when she's had a long day at work. It's like, you're just out there being a sales guy. I do important stuff. I'm shaping the minds
Right.
of America's future, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm helping people with their biggest financial investment where they build their dreams and their lives together. Isn't that pretty important too? Right. And so I think that I really like that in that, hey, it's not really about sales, it's about being a servant and about helping people solve their challenges and their problems so that they can live that their dreams that they want. And the more that we do that, the more business that we're going to get as well too, right?
Right. Motivational interviewing has been very strong with me. I am not the typical sales kind of personality. I try to ask what's important to them and have them it come from them. So motivational interviewing it's like consultative kind of selling. That's, and being interested in their lives and asking more questions,
Yeah,
open-ended questions.
and I think what's important about that is that, sometimes we'll get into conversations right out of the gate with sellers on, hey, what are you going to list? What are we going to list the price of my house for? How much am I going to pay you? And I always try to tell agents, you don't want to start in those spots. If somebody brings that up initially, say, hey, we're
Mhm.
going to get to it, but I want to find out what's really important about this transaction to you first. And so let's kind of walk through that a little bit because at the end of the day, um, the sellers don't want money just inherently for itself when they sell a house. They have an idea or a goal of what they want to do with that money once they sell. So I want to find out what that goal is. What are they going to use that money for? How much is that going to cost them? Why is that important to them? So that we can see, hey, this is what your real goal is. The money's not the goal. They had a goal they want to use money to fund.
Hmm.
And so I want to find out what that goal is and why it's important to them so that we
Right.
can work out a plan to help them get what they want. Right.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I go about it, opposed to transaction, type of thing. So,
Yeah. And then do you tend to find that you get into less when you do that method, that you get into less kind of like resistance on, say, maybe listing price or commission price? Because if you could show somebody, hey, you know what, I know you wanted, $50,000 more, but you can accomplish all your goals with $50,000 less, and hey, we'll try to get you that extra money, but are you okay with, or what's more important to you, the 50 grand or or achieving your goal? Achieving the goal is, so okay, cool. We'll start, or we'll try to get that little extra money for you. But if we get some good offers that can help you hit your goal, are you good with that?
yeah, that's
I always
exactly,
just found that I got way less resistance on sales price and commission as long as I could show them that they can get what they want.
exactly. When they start asking the commission, I start realizing that I didn't build enough value. And I have to go back to their motivation and what's important to them. And but the ones that I was in alignment that day or whatever, the commission never becomes a an issue.
Yeah,
So
because 'cause at the end of the day, it's all about the goal. It's not necessarily about the money, right? Because if
right,
I can help you, and I think that's the way it is with anything, right? That's even the conversations I have with agents about split and caps and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, what's more important to you, the money or hitting the goal? Well, the money is important to me, but yeah, I want to hit the goal. Well, hey, if I put you on a 50-50 split, but I could show you how to make $250,000 more than what you're making now, are you going to gripe about being on a 50-50 instead of an 80-20? No, because now I'm going to make more money,
correct,
right?
correct,
And, and so I think that's what's important, is finding what people want and then helping them get it, right?
right, exactly. It's a challenge. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And because they're not used to that, they're used to somebody coming in there and pitching them, and I think that's what separates you, Maureen, is people are saying, "Hey, I'm the best, real estate agent in LA or in PV or Long Beach or wherever you're at, right? I sell more houses than anybody. I can get you top dollar." It's
Mhm.
all a bunch of eyes, and the consumer is sitting there thinking, "Okay, this guy is just talking about himself. He hasn't
Mhm.
really mentioned anything about me or what I want." And the
Yeah,
mindset for the person in that particular case is just going to be, all right, who's going to be able to do the job for me for the cheapest? Where what you do is you're really taking an interest in somebody. You're asking them questions that no agent, probably asks them. And now you're building that value and that trust because they know that you have their personal interests at heart, not just this is another transaction for you. So I think
right,
that's super. One of the things I
exactly.
want to do is, you sit there and you talked about AI, you talked about technology, things like that. Um, and I know a lot of agents that have been in the business a long time because I've talked to a lot of thousands of agents in my roles over the years, especially like when Command was coming out. I don't need technology because my agents or my clients love me. They're going to use me no matter what, and I don't need any of this mumbo jumbo. And what I always laugh at is, okay, lots of people when the cell phone got launched were like, oh, that's kind of cute and neat or whatever like that, but maybe I don't really need it. When the internet got launched, oh, this is kind of cool, but I don't really, I'm not going to get into that. I don't really need it. It's funny that if you take somebody today and say, hey, could you be a real estate agent without a cell phone and the internet? It would be almost comical, right?
Right. Oh, for
And I
sure.
think that we're kind of at another pivot right now in that, hey, this AI is kind of cute. I logged on to Facebook and I saw somebody made an action figure out of themselves. I don't know how that helps me sell any more real estate, but that's kind of cute. Um, but I think that we're at a critical moment right now, similar to the cell phone, similar to the MLS going from resistance to the internet, and similar to the internet, getting launched with AI. And I know that you're really embracing that, even as long as
Mhm.
you've been into the business. Where do you see that really helping you right now, and how do you think it's going to impact your real estate business?
Oh, well, I mean, besides helping me with editing my descriptions, for my um, listings, but it's saving me time, and it's almost like having an assistant, which I do have from time to time, but I it just saves me so much time, and just even what I did last night was incredible. Like, instead of me thinking, okay, what happened that year? What happened? I just asked, please go through the different real estate trends from 1979 to present, and it broke it down. I mean, specifically. So, I mean, it's incredible what the AI can do, and I'm still learning. So, and you've shared with me, some of the things that it's done for you. But I think, like you mentioned, that if I'm working a farm area and there's another realtor working that same area, if I'm saving a certain amount of time per year, I have more time to do other things versus that other person that's not doing AI. So I'm, you know, beating the competition, I think, a little bit, as they say.
Yeah, well, and I think that's important because, like you mentioned there, hey, if you have even an extra 100 hours, which I think is very doable by utilizing the tools a year, hey, man, if you're my competition in a farm and you're out there knocking on doors 100 hours more than I am, you're going to get more
Uh,
business than I am, right?
right.
And so I think that that's one of the things, going back to what we talked a little bit about previously, is the technology itself is not going to help you sell more real estate. The time and money that it saves you is going to help you spend more time with your people and be able to be more intentional about the things that you do. So I think that's really, really important. And I appreciate how learning based that you are with everything. If somebody was just getting started in the business today,
Mhm.
we'll wrap it up with this question, and then open it up if anybody has any questions for you. Um,
Okay.
if somebody was just getting started today, what would be the things that you would let them know on, hey, this is what you need to do to have success and longevity in this business?
Well, the first thing is, I show up every day. That's one thing, to the office or show up to your business. But your big why is the most important. I really believe that. Before you do your goals, before you do your schedule, it's, more in the mindset. After the mindset, then comes the action, in my opinion. Actually, I have something here that says everything in life starts with your mindset first and your actions second. Your actions follow your thoughts, your beliefs, and ideas. To make a shift to free your energy, start with getting your mind right and then take action. But the main thing that I is what my big why is. And I think it has been proven to me because many times I've had situations in my life that were life threatening, actually. And it got me to figure out what my big why was, and with the business. And that year, it was had to do with money, and I made more money that year just having that big why. It had to do with my son and putting him somewhere, and it was incredible. So I think anybody that doesn't get in touch with their big why and why they're doing this in the first place, and it doesn't necessarily mean only just to make money, but maybe building wealth and buying investment properties, creating, for me, it's a legacy so that I can leave something for my, kids, and whatever you have, that's number one. And then your mindset, because through the years, all the systems in the world is great, but for me, I really had to get in touch with my limiting beliefs and what I can do. And Bold helped me a lot with that, that Keller Williams does and has. And, it really got me to have more confidence and come from value. And I think for me, it's been more something that evolved through the years where I felt much more confident. And then I'm worth it. I'm worth the 3% or whatever. I'm worth all that. And really believing in it. I think people can feel that. But the big why, what else? And then I have a goal card. 411 is really great that Keller Williams offers. But I put mine on, I had a little card, a gold card, but I kept losing it. So I put on a big card and I look at my goals every morning what my goals are, and I increase them, but this year, and then one selling, it says two or more over $1 million listings per month for my ideal clients. So my quarterly goal is 100,000, like that's my goal. So I look at it. I also have other things on here, people that love to pay for my real estate services. So having a goal is important. And this is what my coach helps me with, also the schedule, and personal schedule, everything, So I have a schedule. The first thing I do when I wake up, and I wake up very early, maybe 3:30 to 4:30, I write what I'm grateful for, what I'm happy and grateful for. And then I listen to, certain tapes that I like and get in touch, just, be in touch with what I'm doing for the day. And so that helps me. And for anybody new, the big why is the biggest thing, I think, as well as your
Yeah, no,
mindset.
I think that that's really important, and you really hit the nail on the head because I know I've known lots of really successful real estate agents over the years, and some of them end up make a lot of money, and then they end up leaving the business because they're not hitting their big why, right? So it's not money itself. It's okay, what is the money going to do to help me get to hit to that big why? What am I doing this for? What's motivating me? So I think that that's some really great advice. All right, we're right at time. Is there anybody that has any questions for Maureen before we check out for the day and get to work?
I do have a question.
Thank you, John.
I have
Sure.
a question, Maureen. So you talked about how real estate has changed so much over the years, and I know one of the tangible ways that it's changed is that, uh, back in the day, the consumer didn't have all the information at their fingertips. Before the
Correct.
internet, there wasn't Zillow, they couldn't look things up, and the agent was really the gatekeeper of all that information. So, how have you navigated that change? Like, what different approaches do you take now that you didn't have to do before when you knew everything? And now the clients sometimes are coming to you with, oh, I saw this listing, or I saw this the Zillow estimate and such. So
Right.
how's that had to change your approach?
Well, my approach, um, well, at one point, I would create a little more value. I mean, they still want to go on the internet and do that, but find out what they're looking for and really get an idea. And then I would either, send them listings. Um, we had what was it called again? I don't even know. I haven't used it. We had our own Keller Williams.
Oh, KWLS.
Hmm?
Were you talking
The
about KWLS?
Yeah, where I would send them listings, the smart plans, the
Yeah.
smart plans. So I do that. And I think that, yeah, I mean, people still, it is true. It was a lot nicer when people had more value. And so I have to work a lot stronger on finding out what they're looking for. And some people just go on and they're not really looking for anything, but they just want to keep track of the industry and what's going on. So I've done market updates with certain farm areas that I focus on, or the people that I meet. That's a good conversation, telling them what's going on. Um, they call it equity market date, what's going on in their neighborhood, and asking them also for other property other than their houses, commercial, residential income. And it's amazing because I didn't do that for a long time. And now it's almost like being a financial advisor in real estate. You ask them everything. We're going on the interview to get their listing, but we don't ask them other investments that they make and what else they do. So, I try to create more value that I have, more value. Also, I join like KCM and other places or the Wall Street Journal and really be educated, come from some intelligence that, I know the market. And, sometimes people call me and tell me, I'm sorry, I used this realtor, but what is your thought on this? And I'm thinking, what happened with that? But, all I can do is be of service to them and be their resource. And so that's how I try to get them off that Redfin or whatever. And many people that I've talked to, like the last listing I had, he wanted to go with Redfin because they give money back. And it turned out where it took a while to create value with him, but we did it at 3%. So, it went from Redfin to him paying 3%. So it was a real kind of felt a victory, that we created value. And that, so I think my experience, just coming from a place that you want them to succeed, but also you have a lot of information to give them, that you're talking, something about the market that intrigues them, making a difference, setting yourself apart. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, thank you, Maureen, so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you, John. I do
really,
want to
really
say, I just want to say real quick, I know it's, Keller Williams offers a lot of resources, not just in your market center, but as a whole, like on Connect and going to family reunion and things like that. And my career really went to the next level when I joined Keller Williams. And I just wanted to thank everybody, for contributing to that. And so I just wanted to share with the new people that we have so many resources here that never have I ever experienced with the other companies that I work for. So just want to say that. I'm very grateful.
Well, thank you, and we're grateful for you too, Maureen. I know everybody got a lot out of this call. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So there.
Maureen.
Thank you
Right
for sharing,
Thank
Maureen.
you.